You've been chosen to do the floral arrangements for the Whitmore Sterling wedding. Marlo Finch let the phone slip between her fingers, watching in slow motion as it bounced off the counter of her tiny flower shop in Brooklyn. That name, Whitmore Sterling, the most anticipated wedding in Manhattan's elite circles. The event every florist in New York would kill to land. And somehow, impossibly, it had come to her. "Marlo, are you still there?" Penelope Ashford's voice, the most feared event planner on the East Coast, crackled through the speakerphone. "I need an answer by Friday. That's only 2 days. 2 days to decide if she was ready for the biggest challenge of her life." Marlo looked around her shop. Petals and Promises, with its peeling walls and the refrigeration system that made worrying noises. 3 years since she'd left her safe job in finance to chase this crazy dream. 3 years of overdue bills, sleepless nights, and a stubbornness her mother called romantic self-destruction. But this could change everything. "I accept," she heard her own voice say, surprising herself. "I accept the job." An icy silence on the other end of the line. "Excellent. I'll send the details by email." "Oh, Marlo, the bride, Vivian Sterling, is particular. Very particular. Don't disappoint her." Penelope's tone made it clear. This was her only shot. There would be no second chance. "Now, Friday, 7:23 a.m. Are you absolutely sure this isn't some cosmic mistake?" Ivy Chen, her best friend and only employee, watched Marlo stack boxes of roses into the rented van that was already costing half her savings. "Cosmic mistakes are my specialty," Marlo replied, trying to sound confident while her stomach churned. Penelope's email had arrived with a list of demands that seemed to have more pages than the Bible. Juliet David Austin roses at $15 per stem. Rare orchids. Out-of-season peonies that cost more than her rent. She had emptied her bank account, sold her few pieces of jewelry, even took a loan from her Uncle Patrick, who made her solemnly promise it wasn't for another crazy scheme. Technically, she had lied. "Marlo." Ivy grabbed her arm, her dark eyes serious. "What if this doesn't work out? You've bet everything on this." "What if it does work out?" Marlo countered, but her voice trembled. "Ivy, this is the Sterling wedding. If I can impress these people, I'll never have to worry about bills again. I can finally prove I wasn't completely insane to give up everything." Ivy sighed, but a reluctant smile appeared on her lips. "You are insane, but I love you for it." At 8:15 a.m., Marlo was driving toward the Whitmore mansion in Long Island, every bump in the road making her precious cargo sway dangerously. Her hands sweated on the steering wheel. Her trusted playlist, songs for when you're having a nervous breakdown but need to look confident, played at maximum volume. She didn't know that in exactly 3 hours her life would change completely, that she would meet Dashiell Whitmore, the billionaire groom with storm-colored eyes and a smile that could melt glaciers, that a single sentence from him would carefully destroy her plans. That Vivian Sterling, the perfect bride with her $200,000 dress and connections reaching all the way to the White House, would mark her as an enemy. But for now, Marlo Finch drove toward the unknown, with impossible flowers and impossible dreams, foolishly believing that maybe, just maybe, the universe was finally on her side. She should have been suspicious. The universe was rarely on the side of broke florists, with more courage than sense. The mansion appeared on the horizon like a fairy tale castle, and Marlo had no idea she was driving straight into a very different fairy tale than the one she imagined. The Whitmore mansion wasn't a house. It was a statement. 40 rooms of ivory stone and arrogance sprawled across 10 manicured acres. Marlo's rusty van looked like a stray dog that had wandered into a dog show. She parked near the service entrance as instructed, her confidence evaporating with each step toward the towering oak doors. A woman in a severe black suit, Penelope unmistakably, appeared before Marlo could even knock. "You're late." "I'm 5 minutes early." In this world, early is on time, and on time is late. Penelope's eyes swept over Marlowe's paint-stained jeans and oversized flannel shirt with visible disdain. "Please tell me you brought something more appropriate to wear." Marlowe's cheeks burned. "I'm just setting up the flowers. No one will see me." "Everyone sees everything here." Penelope stepped aside. "The ballroom is through there. You have 4 hours. The engagement party starts at 1 o'clock sharp. Miss Sterling will inspect your work at 12:30. 4 hours to create a floral paradise. No pressure. Marlowe hauled the first box inside, her arms already aching. The ballroom took her breath away. Crystal chandeliers, marble floors, floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the sound. She could fit her entire shop in one corner. She lost herself in the work, her anxiety melting away as her hands moved with practiced precision. This was where she belonged. Not in a corporate office, not behind a desk, but here, creating beauty from living things. "You're going to destroy those roses if you keep manhandling them like that." Marlowe spun around, nearly knocking over a vase. A man stood in the doorway, tall, devastating in a white shirt with rolled-up sleeves, dark hair slightly disheveled as if he'd been running his hands through it. Those eyes, storm gray and intense, studying her with unsettling focus. "Excuse me?" she bristled. "Your grip." He walked closer, and Marlowe caught the scent of expensive cologne mixed with something else. Coffee, maybe whiskey. "You're strangling them. Flowers are delicate. They need a gentle touch." The audacity. "I've been arranging flowers for 8 years. I think I know how to hold a rose." 8 years of bad habits, apparently. A smile played at the corner of his mouth, not quite mocking, but close. "Here, let me show you." Before she could protest, he was beside her, his hand covering hers on the stem. His touch was warm, disturbingly warm. He adjusted her fingers, his movements surprisingly gentle for someone so arrogant. "See? Support, don't grip. Let the flower breathe." Marlowe jerked her hand away, her heart hammering for reasons that had nothing to do with anger. "Who are you, the flower police?" "Something like that." His eyes flickered with amusement. "And you are?" Annoyed, very annoyed. She turned back to her arrangement, dismissing him. "Don't you have somewhere else to be? Like, anywhere else?" "Technically, this is my house." Marlowe froze. No, 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 no. She turned slowly, really looking at him this time. The confident posture, the expensive watch, the way he stood like he owned not just the room, but the entire world. "You're Dashiell Whitmore." "Dash, please. Only my mother calls me Dashiell when she's disappointed in me." He extended his hand. "And you're the florist who thinks she knows everything." "I don't think—" Marlowe stopped, took a breath. This was the groom, the billionaire groom, whose wedding she was working. "I apologize, Mr. Whitmore. I didn't realize that you were insulting the man paying your invoice." His smile widened, but something flickered in his eyes, something like appreciation. "Don't apologize. It's refreshing. No one talks to me like that anymore." Maybe they should. The words escaped before she could stop them. Dash laughed, a real laugh, surprised and genuine. "What's your name?" "Marlowe. Marlowe Finch." "Well, Marlowe Finch, you have terrible manners, questionable technique, and absolutely no sense of self-preservation." He picked up one of her completed arrangements, examining it with those unsettling eyes. "But you have vision. This is extraordinary." The compliment caught her off guard, warming something in her chest she quickly tried to extinguish. "Thank you. Don't let it go to your head." He set down the arrangement, but his gaze lingered on her face. "Though something tells me you don't need my approval anyway." "I don't need anyone's approval." Liar. But he said it softly, like he understood something about her she hadn't meant to reveal. The moment stretched between them. Dangerous, electric. Marlowe forced herself to look away first. "Shouldn't you be with your fiancé? I imagine there are 1,000 things to do before an engagement party." Something shifted in his expression. Vivienne is in the city. Last-minute dress fitting. You don't sound happy about it. I don't sound happy about what? Any of it. The words hung in the air. Dash's jaw tightened, and Marlowe realized she'd crossed a line she hadn't even known existed. I should let you work, he said finally, his voice carefully neutral. Vivienne will be here soon, and she's very particular about flowers. So I've been told. Multiple times. He paused at the doorway, glancing back. For what it's worth, Marlowe Finch, I think your flowers are perfect exactly as they are. Don't let anyone tell you otherwise. Then he was gone, leaving Marlowe alone with 500 roses and a heart beating much too fast. She didn't know that Vivienne Sterling had cameras installed throughout the house, that she'd watched the entire exchange on her phone from Manhattan, that Marlowe had just made the most dangerous enemy of her life. The storm was coming, and Marlowe, foolish Marlowe, had no idea she was standing directly in its path. Vivienne Sterling arrived like winter itself, beautiful, cold, and absolutely merciless. Marlowe heard her before she saw her. The sharp click of Louboutin heels on marble, the imperious tone ordering someone to fix it immediately or you're fired. Then she swept into the ballroom, and Marlowe understood instantly why Dash had sounded so hollow when he'd mentioned her name. Vivienne was perfection weaponized. Platinum blonde hair and an immaculate chignon, ice blue eyes that could freeze oceans, and a white Chanel suit that probably cost more than Marlowe's entire year of living expenses. She was the kind of beautiful that didn't invite admiration. It demanded submission. So you're the florist. Not a question. An assessment. Vivienne circled Marlowe's arrangements like a shark scenting blood. Penelope assured me you were competent, though I have my doubts. Marlowe bit her tongue. I hope the arrangements meet your expectations. Hope is not a strategy, Miss Finch. Marlowe Finch. How quaint. Vivienne's smile could cut glass. She picked up a centerpiece, examining it with the intensity of a jeweler inspecting a counterfeit diamond. These peonies, they're wilting. They're not wilting, they're opening. That's what flowers do. Don't contradict me. The temperature in the room dropped 20 degrees. I know wilting when I see it. These need to be replaced. All of them. Marlowe's stomach plummeted. Those peonies had cost a fortune. Out of season, imported, irreplaceable. Miss Sterling, I assure you they're perfect. In 2 hours they'll be at their absolute peak. And what if you're wrong? Vivienne set down the arrangement with deliberate care. What if my engagement party is ruined because some Brooklyn flower girl thought she knew better than me? Brooklyn flower girl. The words were designed to cut. And they did. I'm not wrong. Marlowe forced steel into her voice. I've been doing this long enough to know. 8 years, yes, I know. Dash mentioned you. Something dangerous flickered in Vivienne's eyes. He said you were spirited. That's the word he used, spirited. The way she said it made it sound like an insult, or a threat. I'm just trying to do my job, Miss Sterling. Then do it better. Vivienne stepped closer, and Marlowe caught the scent of expensive perfume, something French, something that probably cost more per ounce than gold. Let me be very clear, Marlowe. I don't know what you think you're doing here, but this is my day, my engagement party, my wedding, my life, and I don't appreciate little girls with dollar store flowers trying to insert themselves where they don't belong. I'm not inserting myself anywhere. You hired me. Penelope hired you. A decision she's already regretting. Vivienne's smile returned, sharp as a blade. See, here's what's going to happen. You're going to replace every single peony in this room. You're going to do it in the next 90 minutes. And you're going to stay invisible during the party. You don't talk to guests. You don't talk to Dash. You don't exist. Are we clear? Marlowe's hands trembled with rage. Crystal. Good. Vivienne turned to leave, then paused. Oh, and Marlowe? That flannel shirt? Burn it. You look like you wandered off a farm. She swept out, leaving a wake of expensive perfume and implicit threats. Marlowe stood frozen, her mind racing. Replace all the peonies in 90 minutes. It was impossible. She didn't have enough flowers, enough time, enough... She's terrifying, isn't she? Marlowe spun. Dash stood in a side entrance, looking like he'd witnessed the entire exchange. His expression was unreadable. Your fiancé is very... particular, Marlowe managed. That's one word for it. He walked closer, studying her face. You're crying. I'm not... But she touched her cheek, and her fingers came away wet. Damn it. She swiped angrily at the tears. It's just stress. And fury. Mostly fury. The peonies are perfect, Dash said quietly. Don't change them. She'll destroy me if I don't. She'll try to destroy you anyway. Something raw flickered across his face. That's what Vivian does. She finds the thing you love most and threatens to take it away. The admission hung between them, too honest, too vulnerable for a man about to marry the woman he just described. Why are you marrying her? The question escaped before Marlowe could stop it. Dash's jaw tightened. That's complicated. Most important decisions are. He laughed, a bitter sound. You don't pull your punches, do you, Marlowe Finch? I can't afford to. People like Vivian punch hard enough for everyone. People like Vivian, he repeated, and something in his eyes looked almost like pain. You think you have us all figured out, don't you? The rich, the elite, the people in our ivory towers. Don't you? Have ourselves figured out? He stepped closer, and Marlowe's breath caught. Not even a little bit. The air between them crackled with something dangerous. Dash raised his hand as if to touch her face, then caught himself, his hand falling back to his side. Don't change the peonies, he said again, his voice rough. I'll handle Vivian. You can't just... I can. I will. He held her gaze. Trust me. And the terrifying thing was, looking into those storm-gray eyes, Marlowe found herself wanting to. Mr. Whitmore, Penelope's voice echoed from the hallway. Your mother is here. Dash muttered something that sounded like a curse. The hits just keep coming. He started toward the door, then turned back. Marlowe, for what it's worth, you don't look like you wandered off a farm. You look like someone who actually lives in the real world. It's refreshing. Then he was gone, leaving Marlowe alone with her impossible deadline and the unsettling realization that she was developing feelings for a man who was absolutely, completely, catastrophically off-limits. Outside, storm clouds gathered over Long Island Sound. Inside, a different kind of storm was brewing, the kind that would change everything. Marlowe didn't change the peonies. It was possibly the most reckless decision of her life, and that was saying something for a woman who'd quit finance to sell flowers. But as guests began arriving in their designer gowns and tailored suits, as champagne flowed and string quartets played, those peonies bloomed into absolute perfection. She'd been right, and Vivienne would hate her for it. Marlowe had changed into the one decent dress she owned, a simple navy wrap dress that Ivy had forced into her bag, just in case. She was supposed to stay invisible, monitoring the arrangements from the shadows. Instead, she found herself watching Dash. He moved through the crowd like someone performing a role he'd rehearsed too many times. The perfect smile, the practiced laugh, the hand resting possessively on Vivian's lower back while his eyes remained hollow. He looked like a man drowning in slow motion. Champagne. Marlowe turned to find an elderly woman with sharp eyes and an even sharper smile holding two glasses. She was dripping in diamonds that were definitely real, and a mink stole that was definitely inappropriate for June. I'm working, Marlowe said politely. Darling, everyone here is working. We're just working at different things. The woman pressed a glass into Marlowe's hand. I'm Adelaide Whitmore, Dash's grandmother. And you're the girl who's got my grandson looking alive for the first time in 6 months. Marlowe nearly choked on air. I don't know what you... Please, I'm 83. I've seen every game there is, and I invented half of them. Adelaide's eyes sparkled with mischief. He can't stop looking at you. It's driving Vivian absolutely mad. I'm delighted. You should want him to be happy with his fiancée. Should want and do want are very different things. Adelaide sipped her champagne. Tell me, what do you see when you look at them together? Marlowe's eyes found the couple across the room. Vivian was laughing at something a senator said, her hand on Dash's arm like she was marking territory. Dash looked like he was solving complex equations in his head to avoid being present. I see two people playing parts, Marlowe said quietly. Exactly. Adelaide's voice turned serious. The Whitmore fortune and the Sterling political dynasty. It's a merger, not a marriage. Everyone knows it except the poor fools trying to pretend otherwise. Then why? Why is he going through with it? Because Dashiell Whitmore is many things, but a disappointment to his family has never been one of them. Adelaide's expression softened. Until perhaps now. Before Marlowe could respond, a commotion erupted near the entrance. A photographer had somehow gotten past security, flashbulbs popping wildly. In the chaos, someone stumbled backward into one of Marlowe's towering arrangements. Everything happened in slow motion. The vase teetering, water and peonies cascading toward a woman in what looked like a vintage Valentino gown. Marlowe launching herself forward, catching the vase with both hands, but unable to stop the momentum. She crashed into something solid, someone solid. Dash. His arms wrapped around her instinctively, steadying them both. For a moment they were frozen, her hands still clutching the dripping vase, his arms around her waist, their faces inches apart. She could see gold flecks in his gray eyes, could feel his heartbeat against her palm. I've got you, he said softly. I can stand on my own. I know. But do you want to? The question held layers she wasn't ready to examine. Around them, people were staring, murmuring, and Vivian was watching with eyes like winter itself. Marlowe pulled away, her cheeks burning. I'm sorry, I should... The flowers are magnificent. Dash took the vase from her trembling hands, setting it carefully on a nearby table. Just like I said they would be. Dashiell. Vivian appeared beside them, her smile so tight it could shatter. Perhaps you should attend to our guests rather than the help. The word landed like a slap. Marlowe felt herself shrinking, remembering every moment she'd felt small, inadequate, less than. Her name is Marlowe, Dash said, his voice hard as steel. And she just saved Mrs. Vanderbilt's dress. Show some gratitude. Vivian's eyes flashed dangerously. Of course. Thank you, Marlowe. Now if you'll excuse us, my fiancé and I have an announcement to make. She linked her arm through Dash's, her nails digging into his sleeve like talons. As they walked away, Dash glanced back once. The look in his eyes made Marlowe's chest ache. Well... Adelaide murmured beside her. That was illuminating. That was a disaster. Darling, disasters and destiny often look identical until the smoke clears. Adelaide patted her arm. Don't count yourself out yet. Vivian Sterling may have money and connections, but you have something far more dangerous. What's that? You make him feel something, and in a world like ours, feeling anything real is revolutionary. On the terrace, Vivian tapped her champagne glass with a Tiffany knife, the crystal singing out. The crowd quieted. Dash stood beside her, looking like a man facing execution. Thank you all for celebrating with us tonight, Vivian began, her voice honey-sweet and poison-laced. Dash and I are so blessed to have such wonderful support as we begin our journey together. Marlowe should have looked away, should have slipped back into invisibility. Instead, she watched Dash's face, seeing the exact moment he found her in the crowd. Their eyes locked. And we have even more wonderful news, Vivian continued, her hand sliding possessively around Dash's waist. We've decided to move up the wedding. Instead of 6 months from now, we'll be married in exactly 3 weeks. Gasps rippled through the crowd. Adelaide swore softly. and Marlowe felt something inside her crack. 3 weeks. Vivian wasn't just marking territory, she was closing the borders. Dash's expression never changed, but his hand tightened on his champagne glass until Marlowe thought it might shatter. To love. Vivian raised her glass, her eyes finding Marlowe across the crowd. The message was clear. You lose. To love, the crowd echoed. But as Marlowe lifted her glass with trembling hands, she saw Dash mouth 2 words meant only for her. I'm sorry. And she realized with devastating clarity that she wasn't just losing a client or a job. She was losing something she'd never even had the chance to have. Marlowe made it to her van before the tears came. Stupid. So incredibly stupid. She'd known better than to feel anything for a man like Dashiell Whitmore. Men like him didn't end up with women like her, broke florists with paint under their nails and dreams bigger than their bank accounts. They ended up with Vivians. Perfect, polished, powerful Vivians. She was loading the last box when she heard footsteps on the gravel. Running away already? Dash stood in the golden light spilling from the mansion, his bow tie undone, his expression unreadable. He looked exhausted and beautiful and completely off limits. I've finished my job, Marlowe said, not meeting his eyes. No reason to stay. Liar. The word was soft, but cut deep. She slammed the van door harder than necessary. What do you want from me, Mr. Whitmore? The truth would be nice. He stepped closer. And it's Dash. You called me Dash before. That was before I remembered my place. Your place? His voice sharpened. What the hell does that mean? It means I'm the help, remember? Vivian made that very clear. Marlowe finally looked at him, letting him see the hurt. 3 weeks. You're getting married in 3 weeks, and you're out here talking to me instead of celebrating with your fiancé. What are we doing, Dash? I don't know. The admission seemed to cost him, but I know I can't stop thinking about you. About the way you argued with me over roses. About how you stood up to Vivian, even though you were terrified. About how you look at the world like it's still full of possibilities instead of obligations. Stop. Marlowe's voice cracked. You can't say things like that. You're engaged. You're getting married. To the wrong woman. The words hung in the air between them, devastating in their honesty. Then don't marry her, Marlowe whispered. It's not that simple. It never is for people like you. She couldn't keep the bitterness from her voice. What is it? Family expectations? Business deals? Political alliances? All of the above. Dash ran his hands through his hair, destroying its perfect styling. My father's company is leveraged to the sterling political machine. If I walk away from this marriage, I don't just hurt Vivian. I destroy thousands of jobs, tank my family's legacy, and prove every person who said I was too weak to lead was right. So you'll sacrifice yourself instead? That's what leaders do. That's what cowards do. The words came out harsher than she intended, but she didn't take them back. Real leaders choose the hard right over the easy wrong. They don't hide behind duty when they're just afraid. Dash's jaw tightened. You don't know anything about my life. I know you're miserable. I know you look at Vivian like she's a prison sentence. And I know that somewhere under all that responsibility and breeding, there's a person who wants something real. Marlowe stepped closer, reckless with heartbreak. Am I wrong? No. His voice was barely a whisper. You're not wrong. They stood inches apart, the space between them crackling with possibility and impossibility. Dash raised his hand, his fingers brushing her cheek with devastating gentleness. I wish I'd met you 5 years ago, he said, before the company was failing, before my father got sick, before I became the man everyone needed me to be instead of the man I wanted to be. And what man is that? One brave enough to choose you. Marlowe's breath caught. Dash. The terrace doors burst open. Vivian stood silhouetted against the light, her expression murderous even from a distance. Step back, Dash said urgently. Now. But it was too late. Vivian was already marching toward them, her heels like gunshots on the gravel. "How touching," she said, her voice dripping venom. "The groom having a heart-to-heart with the flower girl. Tell me, Dash, is this how you plan to spend our marriage? Slumming with the staff?" "Vivian, don't." She held up one perfectly manicured hand. "I've been very patient with your little midlife crisis or whatever this is. But let me make something absolutely clear." She turned to Marlowe, and her smile could freeze hell itself. "You're fired. Penelope will not be paying your invoice. And if I hear you've contacted my fiancé again, I will destroy your pathetic little shop and make sure no one in New York ever hires you again. Do you understand?" "You can't do that," Marlowe said, but her voice shook. "Not the invoice." She'd spent everything on materials. Without payment, she couldn't cover her debts. She'd lose the shop, lose everything. "Watch me." Vivian's eyes glittered with triumph. "I have friends in every newspaper, every blog, every social circle that matters. One word from me and you'll be blacklisted from the Bronx to the Hamptons. You'll be lucky to arrange flowers for funerals in New Jersey." "Vivian, that's enough," Dash said, his voice hard. "No, darling, it's not nearly enough." She linked her arm through his, her grip possessive. "Say goodbye to your little distraction. We have a wedding to plan." She pulled him toward the house. Dash resisted for a moment, looking back at Marlowe with anguish in his eyes. "I'm sorry," he mouthed again, "but sorry wouldn't pay her bills. Sorry wouldn't save her shop. Sorry wouldn't heal the crack spreading through her chest." Marlowe waited until they disappeared inside before letting herself crumble. She sat in the van, her head against the steering wheel, trying to figure out how to survive this. Her phone buzzed, a text from an unknown number. "The Japanese Gardens at the Brooklyn Botanic Gardens. Tomorrow, 6 a.m. Come alone. A friend." Marlowe stared at the message. It could be a trap, could be Vivian planning another humiliation, but it could also be the lifeline she desperately needed. She typed back, "Who is this?" The response came immediately. "Someone who thinks my grandson is making the biggest mistake of his life. Adelaide." Marlowe's heart stuttered. Dash's grandmother. The woman who'd called her dangerous. A second text followed. "Vivian Sterling may have won tonight, but the war isn't over. If you're brave enough to fight for what you want, I know a few things that might interest you about the Sterling family. Things Dash doesn't know. Things that could change everything." Marlowe sat in the darkness, staring at those words. She should drive away, should lick her wounds and rebuild her life without looking back. But when had she ever taken the safe road? She typed, "I'll be there." In the mansion, Vivian watched from her bedroom window as Marlowe's van finally pulled away. She smiled, satisfied. She didn't know that Adelaide Whitmore was watching too, or that sometimes the most dangerous enemy isn't the one who hates you, it's the one you underestimate. The Brooklyn Botanic Gardens at dawn were ethereal, mist clinging to cherry blossoms, dew diamonds on leaves, silence broken only by birdsong. Marlowe found Adelaide sitting on a bench near the koi pond, looking like she'd been there all night. "You came," Adelaide said, satisfaction in her voice. "I wasn't sure you would." "I almost didn't." Marlowe sat, exhausted from a sleepless night. "Why are you helping me?" "Because I love my grandson more than I love my family's reputation." Adelaide pulled a manila folder from her Hermes bag. "And because Vivian Sterling is a viper who's been playing us all for fools." She handed Marlowe the folder. Inside were documents, financial records, private investigator reports, photographs. Marlowe's hands trembled as she read. "This can't be real." "Oh, it's very real." Adelaide's voice was grim. "Vivian isn't just marrying Dash for political connections. The Sterling fortune is a house of cards. Her father's been embezzling from his own charity for years. They're months away from total bankruptcy and criminal charges." Marlowe stared at a photograph of Vivian having dinner with a silver-haired man who definitely wasn't Dash. "Who is this?" Senator Marcus Blackwell, married, 3 children, and Vivienne's lover for the past 2 years. Adelaide's expression was hard. She's not in love with Dash. She needs him. The Whitmore name and fortune are her family's only salvation. If she doesn't marry him, the Sterlings are destroyed. Does Dash know any of this? Not yet. Vivienne's been very careful. Adelaide leaned back, looking suddenly old. But you're going to tell him. Me? Marlowe's stomach churned. He won't believe me. He'll think I'm just trying to sabotage the wedding because... She couldn't finish the sentence. Because you're in love with him. Adelaide's smile was gentle. Darling, everyone can see it. The question is whether you're brave enough to act on it. Even if I tell him, it doesn't change anything. The company still needs the Sterling connections. The jobs still hang in the balance. Actually, they don't. Adelaide pulled out another document. I've been working on an alternative for months. A merger with the Chen Technology Group instead. Better terms, no blackmail, no forced marriage required. I just needed time to finalize it. Marlowe's mind raced. Ivy's last name is Chen. Your friend's uncle runs one of the most successful tech companies in Asia. Small world. Adelaide's eyes glinted. I had you investigated after I saw how Dash looked at you. Imagine my delight when I found the connection. This is insane. This is opportunity. Adelaide stood, brushing invisible lint from her Chanel suit. Dash is at the penthouse. His, not the one he shares with Vivienne. He goes there when he needs to think. Apartment 42A, 432 Park Avenue. Security will let you up if you mention my name. I can't just show up. You can. You will. Adelaide's voice turned fierce. Because if you don't, my grandson will marry a woman who's using him, spend his life miserable, and never forgive himself for letting you go. Is that what you want? What I want doesn't matter. It's the only thing that matters. Adelaide touched Marlowe's cheek with surprising tenderness. Love isn't practical, darling. It's not safe or logical or convenient. But it's the only thing in this God-forsaken world worth fighting for. Marlowe stood outside Dash's building for 20 minutes before gathering the courage to go inside. The doorman barely glanced at her before waving her through. Apparently, Adelaide's name really did open doors. The elevator ride to the 42nd floor felt like ascending to another world. Each floor was probably worth more than she'd earn in a lifetime. She knocked. No answer. Knocked again. It's open, came Dash's voice, rough and tired. He was standing by the floor-to-ceiling windows, still in last night's tuxedo pants and an undershirt, holding a glass of what looked like whiskey, despite the early hour. He turned, shock crossing his face when he saw her. Marlowe, how did you... Your grandmother. She held up the folder. We need to talk. For the next 20 minutes, she told him everything. Showed him every document, every photograph, every ugly truth Adelaide had uncovered. Dash's expression moved from disbelief to anger to something that looked like devastation. She's been lying this whole time, he said finally, his voice hollow. Using me. Yes. And you're telling me this because you deserve the truth. Marlowe stepped closer. And because Adelaide thinks there's another option, the Chen merger. You don't have to marry Vivienne to save the company. So I'm free. He laughed bitterly. Just like that, I'm free. Aren't you happy? I don't know what I am. He turned to face her, and the raw emotion in his eyes made her breath catch. 3 days ago, my life was simple. Unhappy, but simple. Then you walked into my ballroom with your terrible flannel shirt and your stubborn pride, and everything got complicated. I'm sorry. Don't apologize. He crossed to her in 3 strides. Do you know what the worst part is? I should be angry about Vivienne's betrayal. I should be devastated. But all I can think about is that I'm free to do this. He cupped her face in his hands, his thumbs tracing her cheekbones. Tell me to stop. I can't. Tell me you don't feel this. I can't do that either. Then tell me I'm not crazy. Tell me you feel it too. This impossible, impractical, completely insane thing between us. You're not crazy, Marlowe whispered. I feel it. God help me, I feel it. He kissed her then, fierce and desperate and achingly tender. Marlowe melted into him, her hands fisting in his shirt, 8 years of playing it safe, dissolving in the heat of his touch. He kissed her like she was oxygen and he'd been drowning, like she was the answer to a question he'd been asking his entire life. When they finally broke apart, both breathless, Dash pressed his forehead to hers. I have to confront Vivian. I know. She's going to make this ugly. I know that too. And you're still willing to? Yes. Marlowe cut him off. Whatever comes next? Yes. Dash's phone erupted with notifications. Text after text, all marked urgent. His face paled as he read them. What is it? Vivian. He showed her the screen. She knows. About this meeting. About the documents. His jaw clenched. She's calling an emergency press conference in 2 hours. She's going to announce that I've been having an affair, that I'm unstable, that the company is being mismanaged. She's going to destroy me before I can expose her. She can and she will. The Sterling political machine is designed for this. Dash looked at Marlowe, something fierce and protective in his eyes. She'll come after you too. Everything you care about. Let her try. Marlowe. No. She grabbed his hand. I didn't come this far to run away now. We fight. Together. Dash pulled her close, breathing her in. You're either very brave or very foolish. Why not both? She smiled against his chest. Besides, I've got Adelaide Whitmore on my side. That woman is terrifying. That she is. Outside, storm clouds gathered over Manhattan. Vivian Sterling was preparing for war. But so were they. The Sterling Hotel ballroom was packed with reporters, cameras, and New York's elite, all waiting for blood. Vivian stood at the podium in perfect ivory, the picture of wounded dignity. Beside her, her father looked like a man facing his execution. Thank you all for coming, Vivian began, her voice trembling just enough. It breaks my heart to be here, but the truth must be told. Dashiell Whitmore has been unfaithful. That's interesting. Dash's voice cut through the room like a blade. Since we were never really together at all. Every head swiveled. Dash strode down the center aisle, Marlowe at his side, Adelaide behind them like a general leading troops into battle. Vivian's perfect composure cracked for just a moment. Dash, darling, you're clearly unwell. I'm clear-headed for the first time in months. He took the podium, gently but firmly moving Vivian aside. Camera flashes exploded. And I have some truths of my own to share. Dashiell, don't do this, Senator Sterling hissed. Think about what you're throwing away. I'm thinking about what I almost threw away. Dash's eyes found Marlowe in the crowd. My integrity, my chance at happiness, my future. He pulled out Adelaide's documents. Vivian Sterling has been lying to everyone, including me. Her family's fortune is gone, embezzled by her father. She needed my name and money to save them from prison. And while pretending to love me, she's been in a relationship with Senator Blackwell for 2 years. Chaos erupted. Reporters shouting questions. Cameras swarming. Vivian's face transformed from perfect victim to pure rage. You have no proof. I have bank records. I have photographs. I have testimony from your father's own accountant. Dash's voice was steel. But most importantly, I have the truth. This was never about love. It was a business transaction, and I'm terminating the contract. You'll regret this, Vivian snarled, all pretense gone. I will destroy you, your company, your reputation. You can try. Adelaide stepped forward, her voice cutting through the chaos with aristocratic authority. But the Whitmore Group has already secured the Chen merger. We don't need Sterling connections. We never did. Vivian's face went white. That's impossible. Darling, I've been orchestrating hostile takeovers since before you were born. Adelaide's smile was shark-like. Did you really think I'd let you destroy my grandson? Senator Sterling grabbed his daughter's arm. We need to leave. Now. But Vivian wasn't done. She turned to Marlowe, eyes blazing with hatred. This is your fault. You seduced him, you little gold digger. Stop. Dash's voice cracked like thunder. He moved to shield Marlowe, his body language protective and possessive. Marlowe didn't seduce anyone. She was honest when everyone else was lying. She was brave when everyone else was playing it safe. And she makes me want to be better than the man I've been pretending to be. He turned to face Marlowe, ignoring the cameras, the crowd, the chaos around them. I'm not good at this, he said softly. The honest feelings thing. I've spent so long doing what was expected that I forgot how to want something for myself. But I want you, Marlowe Finch. Not because you're convenient or appropriate or what anyone expects, but because when I'm with you, I remember who I actually am underneath all the expectations. Marlowe's eyes burned with tears. Dash, I know this is insane. I know it's too fast. I know I'm asking you to dive into a mess that's going to get messier before it gets better. He took her hands. But I'm asking anyway. Take a chance on me, on us, on whatever this crazy thing is. The room had gone silent. Every phone recording, every reporter hanging on the moment. You're right, Marlowe said, her voice steady despite the tears. This is insane. You're a billionaire. I'm a broke florist. Your life is board meetings and galas. Mine is wilted roses and overdue rent. We make no sense on paper. Dash's face fell slightly. But, Marlowe continued, a smile breaking through, the best things in life never make sense on paper, and I didn't abandon everything safe to play it safe now. She pulled him down and kissed him, right there, in front of everyone, cameras flashing like lightning. Dash wrapped his arms around her, lifting her off her feet, and the room erupted in chaos again. When they finally broke apart, Dash was grinning, really grinning. Not the practiced smile, but something genuine and joyful and completely unprofessional. So that's a yes? That's a yes. This is disgusting, Vivian spat. You're both delusional. You think love conquers all? You think you can just… Vivian Sterling, you're under arrest. FBI agents appeared in the doorway. Senator Sterling tried to run but was immediately surrounded. Vivian's face went from rage to panic in seconds. What? How? The accountant you threatened? Adelaide's voice was satisfied. He's been cooperating with authorities for months. Your father's charity fraud, the embezzlement. It's over. As agents led the Sterlings away in handcuffs, Vivian locked eyes with Marlowe one last time. You think you've won? You think this is your fairy tale ending? You're still just a girl playing in a world she doesn't understand. Maybe, Marlowe said calmly. But at least I'm playing in it honestly. The ballroom slowly emptied, reporters chasing the Sterling scandal. Adelaide discreetly vanished, leaving Dash and Marlowe alone in the chaos. So, Dash said, still holding her hand. What now? Now? Marlowe laughed, slightly hysterical. Now I have to figure out how to save my shop since Vivian never paid my invoice. About that. Dash pulled out his phone, showed her a bank transfer. I paid it this morning. Triple your rate plus a bonus for emotional damages. Dash, I can't accept. You can. You will. He cupped her face. Let me do this. Let me help. I don't want your money. I know. That's one of the many reasons I'm falling in love with you. The words hung in the air. Too soon, too fast, too honest. You're falling in love with me? Terrifyingly so. He smiled. Is that a problem? Marlowe thought about her tiny shop, his penthouse, her flannel shirts, his designer suits. Every logical reason this couldn't work. Then she thought about how he looked at her, how he made her feel, how for the first time in her life she felt like someone saw her, really saw her. It's probably the biggest problem I've ever had, she said. And I'm falling too. 6 months later, Marlowe stood in the doorway of her new shop, still unable to believe it was real. Petals and Promises had moved from a cramped Brooklyn storefront to a beautiful space in Soho. Twice the size, new equipment, and a waiting list of clients that stretched 3 months out. But that wasn't the unbelievable part. The unbelievable part was the man currently attempting to arrange roses in the back room, his tongue sticking out in concentration, his expensive shirt sleeves rolled up. "Those are supposed to be cascading, not collapsing," Marlowe called out. "They're avant-garde," Dash countered. "You just don't appreciate my artistic vision." "Your artistic vision looks like a floral crime scene," he grinned at her, that real unguarded smile she'd come to treasure. "Good thing I'm better at running companies than arranging flowers." The past 6 months had been chaotic, beautiful, and occasionally terrifying. The Sterling scandal had dominated headlines for weeks. Senator Sterling was facing federal charges. Vivian had fled to Europe, her social media filled with cryptic posts about betrayal and revenge that no one really took seriously anymore. The Chen merger had saved Whitmore Group, making it stronger than ever. Dash had restructured the company, focusing on ethical practices and employee welfare over pure profit. His board had initially resisted until Adelaide reminded them who actually controlled the voting shares. And Marlowe. She'd learned that falling in love with a billionaire didn't mean losing herself. It meant finding someone who celebrated who she was. Dash had insisted she keep her shop independent. He attended her floral workshops, brought her coffee during late-night design sessions, and never once made her feel like she needed to change. "Your mother called again," Ivy announced, poking her head in from the front. She'd become Marlowe's full-time manager, running the business side while Marlowe focused on design. "She wants to know if you're bringing Dash to Thanksgiving." Marlowe grimaced. "What did you tell her?" "That you'd call her back." Ivy smirked. "She also asked if he was planning to make an honest woman out of you soon." Her words, not mine. Dash appeared behind Marlowe, wrapping his arms around her waist. "Your mother's subtle as a sledgehammer. It's one of her many charms." "For the record," he murmured against her ear, "I think about making an honest woman out of you approximately 18 times a day." Marlowe's heart stuttered. "Dash, but I know you're not ready. I know you need time to build your business, to be sure this isn't just some fairy tale that'll fall apart when reality sets in." He turned her to face him. "So I'm waiting, however long it takes." She touched his face, overwhelmed by how much she loved this man who'd been willing to upend his entire life for a chance at something real. "What if I said I'm ready?" Dash froze. "Ready for... not marriage, not yet, but ready to stop waiting for the other shoe to drop. Ready to believe that this," she gestured between them, "is actually real and not going anywhere." "It's real," he said fiercely. "Marlowe, I promise you, this is the most real thing in my life." "Then prove it." She smiled, mischievous. "Move in with me." "You want me to move into your apartment?" Dash looked delighted. "The one-bedroom walk-up with the radiator that sounds like it's dying?" "That's the one." "When do I start packing?" 1 year later. The Brooklyn Botanic Gardens in spring were a riot of color. Cherry blossoms, tulips, and daffodils creating a tapestry that took Marlowe's breath away. She stood under an arch she'd designed herself, white roses intertwined with wild morning glories, exactly the kind of arrangement that Penelope Ashford would have called unconventional. Good thing Penelope wasn't planning this wedding. Adelaide was, and Adelaide believed in love over convention every single time. Marlowe wore her mother's vintage lace dress, altered to fit, with wildflowers in her hair instead of a veil. Her bouquet was a chaotic mix of peonies, garden roses, and forget-me-nots, imperfect and absolutely perfect. Dash waited at the altar in a navy suit, no tie, looking at her like she'd hung the moon. The ceremony was small, just family, real friends, and Ivy as maid of honor. No press, no society columns. Just two people who'd found each other in the chaos and decided to build something beautiful. "I didn't prepare vows," Marlowe admitted when it was her turn. Because everything I want to say sounds like a greeting card or a romance novel, and you deserve better than cliches. Dash laughed, his eyes suspiciously bright. But here's the truth. You chose me when you could have chosen safety. You saw me when I felt invisible. You made me believe that dreams don't have to be practical to be worth chasing. She squeezed his hands. And every day, I choose you back. The man who destroys flower arrangements and burns toast and calls his grandmother when he needs advice. Not the billionaire or the CEO, just Dash. My Dash. Well, now I'm crying, Dash said, wiping his eyes. Thanks for that. Laughter rippled through their guests. Marlo Finch, he continued, his voice steady despite the emotion. You walked into my life in a terrible flannel shirt. It was a great flannel shirt, and reminded me what it felt like to want something. Not because I should want it, but because it made me happy. Your chaos and stubbornness and beauty all wrapped up in one impossible package. And I'm going to spend the rest of my life making sure you never regret taking a chance on a guy who didn't even know how to hold a rose properly. I love you, Marlo whispered. I love you more. Impossible. Watch me prove it. They kissed before the officiant could pronounce them married, earning applause and Adelaide's delighted laughter. Later, at the reception in a garden restaurant, Dash pulled Marlo onto the dance floor. Over his shoulder, she saw Ivy dancing with someone from the Chentech company. Adelaide holding court with Dash's mother, the two women finally finding common ground in their shared love for Dash's happiness. Any regrets? Dash asked softly. Marlo thought about the scared girl who'd accepted an impossible job, about the floricultura that had grown beyond her wildest dreams, about choosing courage over comfort, love over logic. Not a single one. Good. He spun her dramatically, making her laugh. Because you're stuck with me now, Mrs. Whitmore. I kept my name. Mrs. Finch Whitmore, Ms. Finch, Marlo, destroyer of my heart and my attempts at flower arranging. I don't care what you're called as long as you're mine. Yours, she agreed. Always. And as they danced under string lights and cherry blossoms, Marlo realized that fairy tales weren't about princes and castles. They were about finding someone who saw your truth and loved it. About building something beautiful from impossible odds. About choosing love, even when, especially when, it didn't make sense. I know.